And now, without further ado, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome to the podium the 33rd head football coach at the University of Arkansas, Coach Chad Morris.
Thank you for the opportunity to be the next head football coach at the University of Arkansas. Now, I promise you, the more you get to know me, I won't let you down. Our staff won't let you down. We want to win. Make no mistake about it. We're here to win. We want to win. We want to win championships. We get to do something special in the greatest conference in the country and build one of the greatest programs in the country. And we get to lock arms and we get to do it together. We will become the model program for all others to follow.
And from War Memorial Stadium here in beautiful Little Rock, Arkansas, we welcome you to the 2018 Arkansas Spring Game. 33 degrees and a chilly rain. But still, the Hog faithful turning out in droves this afternoon, as you would expect to welcome in a new era, the Chad Morris era. Kelly Stoffer, Roy Philpott, Chris Doering joins us on the sidelines moments from now. And a stark contrast, Kelly, compared to what we've seen in Fayetteville or Little Rock here the last couple of years.
You know what struck me about that press conference with Chad Morris is they weren't just hiring a football coach. They were really choosing a completely different way of life in Arkansas football. And you had Brett Bielema that wanted to huddle, and his center was his quarterback was under the center, and they wanted to pound the football and shorten the game. And Chad Morris is none of that, right? He wants to play as fast as absolutely possible. The spread gun, he still wants to run it, but this is what you're going to get. Arkansas, they didn't have a ton of plays. They were 120th in the country. SMU wanted a volume of plays. They want to play as fast as they can, and we'll explain that to the people. But that's the one thing that fans, not only in this conference, but Arkansas fans in particular, will be able to put their finger on. This team is going to play lightning fast most of the time.
And perhaps a record number of plays to be run here in the Arkansas Spring Game this afternoon. Speaking of Chad Morris, Chris Doering has Coach on the sidelines.
Hey, Coach, good to be here with you today. I tell you what, man, not ideal conditions, but the guys up in the booth were talking about your offense. Tell me exactly from your mouth what a Chad Morris offense looks like.
Well, you know, we want to play fast. We want to be aggressive, take our shots. We're going to be able to run the football as well. But excited about today, man. We got a great crowd out today, considering our weather, man. But that's all right. This is going to be a lot of fun today.
Yeah, the weather's not great for us offensive-minded guys. But what are your expectations and what do you want to see today from your team?
Well, I just want to see us getting a little bit better. That's been our focus all spring long, is just get 1% better every day. This is just one last chance for us in a game-like environment to see what we can do before we put it all together September 1st.
Coach, congratulations on the job and welcome to the SEC.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Chris, thank you very much. 147 days away from the season opener against Eastern Illinois back in Fayetteville. A look at the spring game format today. 12-minute quarters. Clock will be running in our second half. It's the white versus the red. And if you're scoring at home, and we know that you are, keep this in mind. The defense can put some points on the scoreboard with a block kick, tackle for loss, a sack, or a 3 and out. So, Kelly, I trust that you'll be all over this arithmetic.
I'll keep an eye on that. The thing that you want to get out of this game is, first of all, item number one is don't get anyone hurt. You want to come out whole after this game, but you want to see guys compete. And that's why we're going to see ones-on-ones to begin this contest. You're going to see, you know, kind of the best on best, offense versus defense, and you want them competing because that is really the tone that Chad Morris came in to set from day one. We want to compete for everything we do. He called it the one-play warrior mentality. One play and then move on, but compete your backside off on that one play.
Chad Morris, of course, arriving from SMU in 3 years. Took the Ponies from a one-win program to a bowl team last year with 7 victories. Longtime Texas high school head coach. And a lot of excitement here in the Natural State this week, as we have come to understand this fan base has been starving for up-tempo, starving for a little bit of a change. And ironically, Kelly, he inherits a program that returns a good number of starters from last year's team that was close in achieving just 4 victories.
Yeah, and Chad Morris told us that there were a lot of games that Brett Bielema's teams actually had a chance to win. So I think they believe they have some pieces to work with. Obviously new systems, and that's what spring is all about, is installing both of those systems.
Warren back deep to receive this Connor Lippert kickoff. And an ominous start here as that one sails out of bounds. Well, there was ice falling from the skies as we arrived, as we left our hotel earlier today, so not ideal conditions as Coach and Chris were talking about. We'll see if that puts a damper on this up-tempo attack.
And Chris talked to Chad Morris directly about how would you describe your own offense? And this is what he said in the past. It's a two running back, run first, spread offense that is going to play out of the gun most of the time and play with pace. That doesn't mean they're always going to be going as fast as they can. Plenty of times it's just the threat of getting to the line of scrimmage and being able to go fast, but it's going to be up-tempo a lot. Make no mistake about that.
And one of the stories we will be following, quarterback competition, and Ty's story will start today with the ones in the handoff to Devois Whaley. Story, a junior out of Charleston, Arkansas, and Cole Kelly expected to get a lot of snaps here today. Kelly started 4 games last year, was 2-2, and for Story, two-time Gatorade Player of the Year here in the Natural State, Kelly, and also was an All-State player in basketball and baseball. Question is, how much has he been able to ascertain of this offense?
Well, I think when you're breaking down the quarterbacks to begin with, I think right now it's about Ty Story and Cole Kelly, and they bring considerably different things to the table. Ty Story actually picked up the X's and O's of this scheme more quickly than anybody else in that quarterback room. And physically, I think he's a little bit limited. I think he moves a little bit better maybe than Cole Kelly does. But Cole Kelly's just a physical specimen, 6'7", 260, depending on his latest weigh-in. And he's just a big man. He's an intriguing talent, but you need a trigger puller in this offense.
So, of course, everybody expecting Chad Morris's offense to throw the ball all over the park. 3 straight running plays, all to Devois Whaley. That went for 17 and a first down.
And throwing the ball all over the parking lot out of these offenses, Chad Morris's is included, is a complete misunderstanding. Chad Morris is the first to tell you that it's a run-first offense. They want to own the tackle box in the run game. They want to spread it out, and they really force the defense into a bad situation. They force the defense to cover a bunch of good athletes out in space, and then the defense has to decide how exactly they're going to do that. But owning the tackle box in the run is item number 1 for Chad Morris's offense.
A pass intended for Jonathan Nance as it sailed out of bounds. First possession here of the red-white game.
And Roy, the thing that people at home I think need to keep an eye on is this offense is meant to go fast. And if it's not going fast, there's a problem. And the problem typically right now is what we're seeing. The quarterback has to look to the sideline. There's a little bit more time taken to discern what the quarterback play caller Joe Craddock is wanting out of them. So it takes a little bit more time at the line of scrimmage. And then, quite frankly, there hasn't been a lot of separation between receivers and cover guys on the back end. So quarterbacks are holding the ball in the pocket extensively. We saw that in practice multiple times.
Third down and long as Story cocks and fires. Pass is incomplete, looking for Nance. And Ryan Pulley in coverage did a nice job to break that one up.
And that's a great example of what we're talking about. Jonathan Nance, number 7, is just going to run a curl route. Eventually, Story gets over to that side, but Nance needs to work back down to the line of scrimmage. He ran his route and just stood there. And it gave Pulley, a very good cover corner, time to break on that ball and break it up. Nance works back to his quarterback. That's a completion. The chains move, and the offense still possesses the football. I guess in this case, the offense is still going to possess the football, aren't they?
That's correct.
The same offense with the same colors.
I love getting you NFL quarterbacks fired up over quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It gets me excited because you guys are so passionate about it. Your career in the NFL, you know the position, you understand the position and what it takes to succeed. And it's not always as easy as it looks. Punt by Blake Johnson, fielded by Deion Stewart.
So now if they stick to the script, I assume we're going to see Cole Kelly as the next quarterback that gets to come in. And again, he's just a different body type. He's a big athlete. He's, kind of a intriguing presence. He has a really good arm, but big men at that position sometimes have trouble with the intricate ball handling. With the ball handling means that you also have to have good feet to get in the position to throw on time after ball handling. Your feet have to be good. Can Cole Kelly, as a big man at that position, do those things. That, I think, remains to be seen.
Well, he's a big dude, and they used him last year in the Steamboat package on short yardage early in the season. Redshirt sophomore out of Lafayette, Louisiana. Started a couple of games with the injury to Austin Allen. Mixed results, did rally the Hogs back from a couple of deficits late in the year. Quick pitch out to Chase Hayden. Go for a couple of yards on first down. What do you want to see out of a quarterback in a game like this, particularly these two in an ideal situation today? Because they're not going to go out and throw for 400 yards and complete 40 passes, at least we don't think. But what do you want to see?
You want them to be sharp in the kind of the minutia of kind of pre-snap administration. What I mean by that is look to the sideline, get the play called, get your team to the huddle in the right position, and run the play. And then when you have an open receiver, make a good throw. They're not going to do a lot of intricate stuff today. We're told that it might come down to about 4 to 6 play calls over and over and over again. So that isn't a big part of it, but handle your business, getting your team in the right place, and then do the little things at the line of scrimmage. What we see Cole Kelly doing right now, he has to move his running back from one side to the other based on the look of the defense. Those things need to be buttoned up.
Already a stark contrast compared to last year. Pass is incomplete, looking for Jeremy Patton, the tight end. You see the Hogs out of the shotgun, not under center, and doing some different things, running Chad Morris's spread.
Well, and Roy, that's an interesting thing too. Both Cole Kelly and Ty Storey are revisiting their high school days as far as this offense. They both in high school lived in the shotgun, and now they're back in the shotgun.
Stewart back deep to receive this punt. Your eyes do not deceive you. A 4-0 lead for the defense on a couple of stops.
This is baseball season, right? Someone hit a grand slam.
Well, no completions yet by either quarterback, Kelly and Storey. We also expect to see Dalton Hyatt and a transfer, Austin Awney, who actually originally signed with TCU and then played minor league baseball for a couple of years. Now just underway here in Fayetteville. 7:51 remaining in our first quarter, and a 4-0 lead for the Red. Only one first down so far back in Little Rock. Kelly Stauffer, Chris Doring, Roy Philpott. The principles of the Chad Morris offense, Kelly, we can trace back to triple option football, can we not?
Yeah, Navy is a good example of that now. And Navy, what they want to do, they have 3 running backs in the backfield. They want to establish the fullback right down Main Street. And that's how this triple option offense works. The quarterback reads outside. No one takes the fullback. You give it to the guy inside. You establish the inside run as option number 1. Now, when they take that inside fullback away, as you can see, the defensive tackle steps down inside. The quarterback looks further outside. And now, do I keep it? Do I pitch it? All the green grass. Quarterback keeps it in his hands and gets around the edge. And then the third part of this vaunted triple option, where all of this begins with Chad Morris. Read the outside guy, they step inside, I pull it out of the belly of the fullback, someone takes me, I pitch it, and we get to the perimeter. And what we're going to show is what Chad Morris is doing out here on the field today. We won't see a ton of it as we see a big play to the tight end. We're going to see the same triple option principles delivered in a different package.
First pass completion of the afternoon. It goes for 53 yards and a touchdown. Cheyenne O'Grady, the tight end, and a junior from Fayetteville with the reception. And Ty Storey tosses his first scoring pass today.
And look at the intricate ball handling to begin with. Storey gets outside the pocket, which is, I think, Storey's sweet spot. I think he has very good feet. Throws it going to his left as a right-hander and puts it on the big tight end. O'Grady, and that's a name that Joe Craddock gave us yesterday. They're looking for Cheyenne O'Grady to kind of come into his own and realize how good he can be. He's the body type at that tight end position that this offense really needs to show up.
So we look at Arkansas's offense now, comparing those triple option concepts to what occurred at Clemson with the great Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, and we're going to use Deshaun. And the first one, again, you're establishing inside run with the running back. It's out of gun. It's out of a different look. But Deshaun Watson leading the in-man, reading the in-man on the line of scrimmage. That guy steps down inside. Deshaun goes out to step number 2. He's defended. You can't get the quarterback to run out on the edge. Number 3 is throw the ball out on the perimeter instead of pitch it. And then most people don't have this happening, which is Deshaun Watson making something that didn't look very good look really good in the end. And I know somewhere down the road, Chad Morris and Joe Craddock hopes they have a Deshaun Watson type guy pulling the trigger, but that's the 3 options. The big thing that I love in this offense, instead of pitching it to the perimeter that we saw Navy doing, now the quarterback gets out there and can still throw the football. That was very, very unusual for me as a quarterback to have a post-snap decision where you either run it or throw it, but it's a great thing to say.
Chris has Coach Morris down on the field. Chris?
Hey, yeah, I'm here with Coach. Slow start for the offense, but that time able to get a little play action and hit the tight end. What'd you see from the assignment there?
Well, I just thought, obviously playing really aggressive defensively up front, playing a run. I thought we were running the ball pretty well the first couple series there. But, we just try to suck them down in the box and get a shot over the top. And
now, I think there's a misnomer, right, about your offense. People think the tight ends aren't going to be on the field, but you guys have the tight end on the field a lot, and you have a history of having guys that have gone on and played well in the NFL.
Yeah, we have. Obviously Dwayne Allen being a Mackey Award winner, we've had a lot of success with it. And, as you see, a lot of 12 and 11 personnel out here today.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. Back to you guys.
Certainly the tight ends and the running backs passed the eye test with what we saw this week in practice back in Fayetteville, Kelly.
Yeah, that's a deep position, I think, in this offense right now. It's something that certainly Brett Bielema believed in, having tight ends a lot of times, but it was for a different purpose. The tight ends in this offense with Chad Morris are kind of Renaissance men. They have to do a lot of things well. Yeah, we have to think of something to call them because they're not X factors and they're kind of probes of the offense. And what I mean by that is if I put a tight end out there and he has the ability to detach and be a receiver or be an inline blocker, it's going to determine how I'm defended. And all of that means something to Chad Morris and Joe Craddock and how they're going to call plays. So if I can put a guy out there can do multiple things, I can move him around, I get a mismatch somewhere either in the run game or the pass game, and I take advantage of it in this scheme that Chad Morris is introducing to this group of players.
Now Jordan Jones.
Renaissance man. Do you want to define that for me before the day's out?
I don't want to. You said it. So the onus is on you. Renaissance men playing the H-back/fullback / tight end position.
The Swiss Army knife, that kind of, but I don't really like that terminology. Renaissance men, that's what that group is.
Well, another interesting concept that Chad Morris bringing here to the natural state. The marriage between himself, Joe Craddock, and John Chavis, who's otherwise known as Chief. And there you see one of the veteran coaches in the SEC. And Kelly's been just about everywhere. Stops at LSU, Tennessee, of course, Texas A&M most recently, but he's an old school coach that's brought in with kind of these new school concepts and running their version of the smash mouth spread. And the interesting marriage is the two sides, I think, have learned a lot from each other so far this spring through about 13 practice sessions. And there's going to be more to come as we get closer to the start of preseason camp in August.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I think that's really an intriguing story for Arkansas football currently. You have kind of the old school way of Chavis meeting a young approach on the offensive side, and the way Chad Morris plays offense affects the way John Chavis has to play defense. So the question is, how adaptable is John Chavis to the things that he's going to have to do slightly differently? And talking to Chief yesterday, the biggest thing is you have to have a boatload of depth to play against offenses like he faces in practice and like you're seeing more in college football. But I thought that was interesting when Chad Morris says, hey, we can help you by teaching you how to defend us, because if you can defend us, then you can defend a lot of people. And Chad Morris wants to know how John Chavis has been in this conference for so long.
Well, the pass is caught by Deion Stewart. Rio Tut brings him down, and a gain of 17. It'll make it 3rd down and 1 in a 7-5 contest. Annual red-white game. That's one thing Kelly can do perhaps better than most realize. The 6'7" frame diving forward for the first down, and here comes the tempo.
Yeah. and go as fast as you can. And typically that tempo goes into kind of Mach 7 when you pick up a first down. When you convert, you get a little momentum, the offense gets a little rhythm, and that's where you see these types of offenses go extremely fast. Although then there's a lot of this at the line of scrimmage. You present speed and tempo or fast, but you don't always have to go at that speed.
Play action again. Here's Kelly. Quick pitch and catch. That's Michael Woods, who originally committed to SMU in the recruiting process and then followed Chad Morris and his position coach Justin Stepp here to Arkansas.
And Michael Woods is a true freshman that enrolled early, and you can see how long does it take to get the next snap off. Not very long.
Nice pass from Kelly. Stewart was unable to maintain control. Nate Dalton in coverage and the tackle on the last play. Try to drop a dime right in there, Kelly.
He did, and that was well thrown, and I believe that was Michael Woods once again, and he just didn't complete the catch all the way to the end. But what we see there is exactly what this offense presents. You create space, you create one-on-ones, and you have guys like Michael Woods win those matchups, and your quarterback, in this case Cole Kelly, put it on Michael Woods, but Woods did not complete the catch.
3rd down and 4. Kelly will swing it outside to his running back TJ Hammonds, the fan favorites here in Arkansas. Nate Dalton again the hit. That's just a short pickup of a yard. Another stop for the red team.
Red team's going to get some points for that, right?
That's correct.
What is that? Do you have that memorized yet, the scoring situation?
No mathematician, but I believe it's a point or two. Let's go with that.
A 3rd down, a 3 and out or a 3rd down stop gives you something. We know that. Punting with nobody on the field, I don't think gets you any points, though.
And 3rd punt of the afternoon. There's Jared Cornelius back from the Achilles tear and expected to catch a couple of punts this afternoon in a 7-5 game.
I thought I'd lost my business in that fire, but my agent was there before the flames were out. He said, together, we're going to rebuild. We've got 25 employees who depended on it, and that's all that mattered to me. My independent agent and auto owners made sure we didn't skip a beat. I mean, we didn't miss a single payroll. Incredible.
For whatever lies ahead, we're always there. Auto Owners Insurance.
Well, just getting started today on the SEC Network, the Auburn spring football game from Pat Dye Field inside of Jordan-Hare Stadium. Headed your way, 4 o'clock Eastern. Clay Matvick, Jordan Rogers, Laura Rutledge will be there to bring you all the action from Gus Malzahn and the Tigers. Also streaming live on the ESPN app. And speaking, great Gus Malzahn, one of the mentors to Chad Morris going back to their high school days in Arkansas and Texas, respectively, and kind of following a similar track as Art Briles did.
Yeah, and what you see here on that first line, Art Briles was at Stevensville High School in Texas, becoming a legend, and Gus Malzahn, parallel track to that, was here in the state of Arkansas, becoming a legend at the high school level also. Chad Morris was just cutting his teeth on football, and there was a moment in time where Chad Morris actually followed somewhat in the footsteps of Briles and goes to Stephenville High School. Briles had taken that program to 15 straight years of the state playoffs, and they hadn't been to the state playoffs since 1952 all the way up to like 89. So Briles obviously was a Texas high school legend. Chad Morris takes over. They missed the playoffs with a 6-4 team that first year in 03, and that actually brought about a meeting, a very important meeting, I think, in the lives of both Chad Morris and Gus Malzahn. Gus Malzahn was making his name being an offensive coordinator at the University of Arkansas, and so Chad Morris reached out to Gus Malzahn. They had a meeting, and out of that came this offense. And you can call it what you want, but Gus does his own version of it, and Chad Morris does his, and quite frankly, they're incredibly successful both ways.
And the fun part is now we see Gus and Chad doing battle every year in this conference, in this division, in the SEC West. Auburn and Arkansas, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and we've talked with Chad about it this week, what that relationship has been like. as Kelly fires his strike to the far side, and pass will be caught by LaMichael Petway. He's one of the receivers that has shed about 10 pounds of weight in an effort to get faster and quicker off the line.
And look when this ball comes out, and this is a back shoulder throw thrown extremely well, and Petway's one of those receivers that can really make a splash. In a sense, he's getting a fresh start. Didn't get a whole lot done under Brett Bielema's staff, but he has flashes, and they've talked about seeing that in the spring, and he certainly looks the part. 6'2", 225, has great speed, and right now he's learning how to play technique. And one of the things that Joe Craddock told us is he's got to get in better shape. The first thing that happens, just kind of like you in the weight room, the first thing that happens is when you get tired, your technique goes downhill, right?
I'm in great shape, for the record. So I don't know what you're talking about, but I understand the concept.
Yeah, so Petway needs to get in better shape, and when he does, his technique is going to be maintained longer, and he actually has a chance to make a splash.
Here's Kelly lobbing it deep. On the far side broken up. Chevin Callaway in coverage. Tipped that one away at the last second. The sophomore from Dallas.
This is a great job of not panicking. Callaway was in pretty good position. Wait for the receiver's hands to let you know when the ball's entering the neighborhood, which is exactly what Callaway did, and reached up and knocked that ball away. That was tremendous man-to-man bump and run technique at the end of the play.
Malik Williams, the new running back for the Hogs. And number 23 in white, the deep handoff left side. A punishing runner. He's had a great spring. We talked with Joe Craddock and Chad Morris, and they likened his running style to Marshawn Lynch this week. Keeps those legs churning, is not afraid to initiate contact, and he's right now number 4 on the depth chart, so an embarrassment of riches in this offensive backfield for Arkansas.
Well, remember how Chad Morris describes his scheme. It's a 2 running back run first scheme, even though it's out of the spread gun deployment.
Little back shoulder fade and incomplete right through the midst of Deion Stewart.
And so there are going to be a lot of running backs that are used. You have to have depth at that position. You're typically going to have 2 of them in the game, and if there is only one, the other guy is going to be kind of an H-back move tight end type guy. But Malik Williams is really kind of an X factor. The word I like that Joe Craddock, the offensive play caller, used is violent. I mean, that's exactly what we saw out of Marshawn Lynch in his career, and you see it out of Williams. They've seen him flash those things during the spring campaign.
4th down, the white team electing to go for it, so a pressure-packed moment here, Kelly. And a pass will be caught. That'll move the sticks. Tyson Morris, the walk-on with the grab and across the middle to keep the drive alive.
And this ball comes out on time. Even though it was thrown slightly behind the receiver, Morris, because it was on time, Morris had the time to adjust and ends up converting.
On the run, this is Kelly. And spots Morris once again. His second reception in as many plays. Approaching the 2-minute mark of a fast-moving 12-minute first quarter.
That was the triple option right there. We saw it inside. There wasn't a zone read inside. The running back was stopped, so Kelly pulls it, gets to the edge. Watch all 3 phases in this replay.
Offense, number 51. 5-yard penalty for previous spot.
Ignore the offensive lineman that was illegally downfield, but it's run inside. Quarterback pulls it, can't run it, and instead of pitching it to someone, he throws it to somebody.
You call it the triple option. In layman's terms today, RPO, the run pass option, is what a lot of people are used to hearing.
Right, but the run pass option, consider this. How many run options were on that play? 2. So it's really, if we're going to call it that, it's a run pass option.
R squared PO.
R squared PO.
We're
there
inventing terminology here.
And that will stick. That will stick right there. R squared PO.
Well, we have 147 days for that to stick for the start of the regular season. As Hammonds tries the left side on 1st and 15, is brought down by Dre Greenlaw. So you've given a lot of love to the offense. The Hogs defensively returned 7 starters, and Greenlaw is one of 2 players that had over 100 tackles a year ago. So there is some strength in the defense, despite the fact the numbers from last year on 3rd down, in terms of getting pressure on the quarterback, were not great, and prompting that coaching change, as everybody knows by now. And Kelly pick up a couple on 2nd down.
Yeah, and I think this The defensive side of the ball for Arkansas may be the biggest surprise when the season starts in the fall, because I think there are a few reasons. First of all, I think John Chavis knows what he's doing. He's been in this conference forever and a day. But the personnel, the defensive roster, first and foremost, was recruited to a 4-3 defense. It was only a year ago that Brett Bielema decided to go to a 3-4 defense. And we see the defender break on the ball right there. That was Cam Curl. And the throw was late. That's what we're talking about. How many times do we see late throws in practice when we watched? If this ball comes a little earlier and you locate it a little better, that's a touchdown.
Trying to spot the tight end Jeremy Patton, and Curl moved from cornerback to safety this year. An effort to try to strengthen the back end of that defense. And here's a 33-yard field goal attempt by Connor Limpert. And a left footer misses that one right. So he shanks that one. A 7-5 game, 3 seconds remaining here in our first quarter. The official beginning of the Chad Morris era.
We were talking about that, the defense. And so this roster that was recruited to a 4-3 are actually getting back to a 4-3. And so that's one thing. And then it's the aggressive nature of Chavis's 4-3. Coach Chavis is an attacker. It's a zone blitzer. And I think this is going to be a better match. You can see right there, none of those numbers on the screen are good. You want to reverse all of those things. But this is the way you have to play defense really everywhere, but certainly in this conference. You have to defend third down, and you have to defend the red zone, or what Chief calls the tight zone. You have to play well in those two areas. And if you look at John Chavis's resume, his defenses have consistently been good in those two areas.
Well, in case you're wondering as well, there are several key defenders not playing in this spring game, and our thoughts with Sosa Game, the star defensive tackle / DN that is missing today due to be with his family for a funeral. Austin Capps is also out on the defensive line, a 6'4", 300-pounder, battling injury and hoping to gain health and strength this offseason, and apparently he is. Story will fake the handoff and across the middle, a nice pitch and catch ahead of the 40-yard line. And a pass caught by LaMichael Petway, a gain of 20. Now the big story of our first quarter, Ty's story to Cheyenne O'Grady from 53 yards out in the offense with a 2-point lead.
All right, stud, you ready?
Yes, sir.
You sure? All right, let's do it. All right, D.
Yes, sir.
Let's go get it, man. Have some fun, man. I know, we got a good crowd here for it. We got 10 seconds now. We got to go. We got to go. We got to go. Here we go. Now you're ready. Go, 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 go. Just go. First down. First down. Go, go, go.
Carry over the 30.
Go.
The 36-yard line. Back to Arkansas.
Chad Morris preaching tempo as you would expect. Play caller for the Hogs this year is Joe Craddock, and Chris Doring has him right now.
Hey, Coach, first down here, what play we got on?
We got a little tight zone to the left here. Looking to get some good yards on first down. See if we can't pick up a couple yards and then play a little fast in the next play. Hey.
Chase Hayden on the carry up the middle to the 44-yard line.
Hey, now we're going to do a little split flow zone here. Back to the left. Going to bring the tight end back across.
Made the tackle for the red team. Second down.
Run it to the right. They got it mixed up out there. It's all good, though. You can see right there we're short on the backside because the tight ends lined up the wrong side.
3rd and 5 here. Let's see what Coach dials up.
All right, 3rd down, medium here. We're looking to throw a little quick game. See if we can't get LaMichael Petway open. If the corner crashes down, we should be throwing it to the back. We'll see what we got here. Should be working LaMichael Petway to the boundary side here. There it is right there, first down.
Nice decisive read that time, right?
That was really good by Ty. You know, when he's on the same page with me, that's when we're going to be pretty good. We're running a little tight zone to the left again here, just trying to pick up positive yards on first down. We have an RPO out to the field there that Ty was able to take advantage of.
Story's pass complete to Jordan Jones. He's brought down at the 40-yard.
What was his read there? What made him go outside?
The Sam linebacker. He had good numbers out there, so we decided to take his hitch. It's a good read by him. Now we're in a 2nd and 7 type situation. Staying ahead of the change is really good. He should pull this one. Throw it.
PI.
PI there, yeah. Yeah. Who you got? Okay. All right, here we go.
He's coming back over to us here.
Pass interference, defense, number 25. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic, first down.
Is this a place where you might take a shot?
Yeah, we're going to take a shot right here. Picked up a first down on a cheap one. So we're going to see if we can't get a matchup out there, see if we can't take a shot in the end zone. Go ahead and put 6 on the board for the Razorbacks here.
Which side is he playing, Coach?
He's looking for his best matchup. Yeah, we're taking a shot. Yeah, we're looking for his best matchup. He should probably, what it looks like right now, probably should work the field. See where he goes. He saw the boundary safety a little low, so took it to the boundary. A little bit tight there.
I agree with the fact that boundary safety was a little tight, so that made him go outside to that bump and run matchup. It was just tight at the back of the end zone.
Second 10 now.
Yeah, running a little counter play here, trying to get Malik open on the right side here. Let's see how we block it up front. Should be pulling the guard. And our tight end there. Pretty good play by defense. We got 4 yards there.
That was a good run by Malik. Came back inside. It was a counter play. The offensive lineman leads, fullback or the H-back comes and assists him, and Malik actually kept it tied up inside when typically that's to go outside, kind of the edge of that offensive line.
You like the greediness of trying to take a shot after getting that first down.
Here, guys.
I love that.
Yeah. Here we got a little post wheel action in the boundary. See if we can't get the boundary safety down here. If boundary safety comes down, he should take Mike Woods. Might take Mike Woods here on the post. Oh, he overthrew him.
That's a good read. That was a great read, though, on that end. There was softness outside on the wheel post combination, and so you had one-on-one backside to the post. And if Ty Story drives this football in, it's a touchdown. And that's the ebb and flow you see with the play caller. Joe called the right thing. His quarterback read it right, but that doesn't mean you always make the right throw.
You know, just listening to him, you understand all of the options and the possibilities with each play call in this offense. Certainly limitless.
And he wants that, Roy, to go so much faster than it was going right there. Imagine all of what we saw, but the defense only has 5 seconds or 6 seconds to look at it instead of 12 or 14. That's when it becomes pretty interesting.
Here's Christopher Lopez on to attempt a 38-yard field goal and sneaks that one just inside the upright. Well, the offense adds 3 points to the ledger, grabs a 2-point lead here in our second quarter in Little Rock.
Let's say you're Rachel, and your childhood tree is about to become a condo. So you spontaneously decide to move it 500 miles as a surprise gift to the man you love. Aw, you guys. Luckily, before retirement, Chris helped you plan a personalized strategy that balances your goals in life, from healthcare to a summer home, with your need to be spontaneous, so you can move some tree. Sorry, our tree. And Chris will help you dig the hole. Kidding! See how this can give you access to the insights and expertise of J.P. Morgan.
Now we're talking Kentucky spring football this Friday night here on the SEC Network, 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central. Game's also streaming live on the ESPN app. It's head coach Mark Stoops and the Cats as they cap off their spring under the lights this coming Friday.
Kentucky football. You know where basketball on grass actually met the ACC or the SEC for the first time?
Hal Mummy?
Helmummy Mike Leach of Kentucky.
Yeah.
97, 98-ish. They got this going. People were offended that someone would try to play football like that in this conference. But now look at this conference. What Chad Morris is doing is in a handful of other places.
Well, 13-8 our score. The all-important track of this contest. And a lot of questions surrounding the Hogs' offensive line this year. But certainly one of the mainstays and perhaps one of the best guards in the SEC. Yelda Froholt, number 51, you see on your screen, a senior, over 315 pounds, out of Denmark, and he is one of the road pavers for this Hogs rushing attack this year. One of the leaders, too, is the spring MVP. And Kelly, in our conversations with the staff this week, their one message to Yelda to start his senior campaign: hey, don't be so hard on yourself. You're getting the job done. It's worked out quite well. We love where you're at. But if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. As Kelly's toss is incomplete, and a late flag, he was trying to spot Jonathan Nance, and a pass interference penalty coming likely on Ryan Pulley.
Yeah, and Pulley is literally doing that. He's pulling Jonathan Nance.
15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Is another example of how if the defensive back doesn't panic and just plays the football in the end, a lot of those type of penalties would just go by the wayside. But you're talking about Yelda Froholt. He's the linchpin up front in so many ways. First of all, he's the best player. He might not just be one of the best guards in this conference, but one of the best guards in the country. He's also probably the preeminent leader in the locker room currently for a lot of reasons. First of all, because of his play on the field. And then secondly, because he's just an intimidating young man at close to 6'6", 215. And he has the ability to play guard, but it isn't unusual in situations like this when you're potentially looking for a center to knock on his door one night and say, hey, can we maybe talk about the potential of you moving over one spot? I don't know that Arkansas is going to do that. I don't even know if it's in the works, but that's something that if like a Dylan Hayes at the center position doesn't really come along, especially early in camp come August, that, you know, it isn't completely out of the realm of possibility that Yelda Froholt might be a center.
And Hayes, your center right now on offense, number 69 in white. Played some defense in his career on second down. And for the record, too, Chad Morris apparently did not like that last field goal, and so he's going to take the 3 points off the scoreboard. Only the head coach can do that in a contest this critical, Kelly, and Chad Morris has elected to do exactly that.
Yeah, I think he has room to do that. And you were just talking about Dylan Hayes. He's right now the starting center in this group. But remember what has happened at that position. Frank Ragnow, who Brett Bielema called maybe the best, one of the best offensive linemen, certainly the best center that he's ever coached. Consider Brett Bielema's background at that position. He got hurt and was out, and then Zach Rogers was another guy that played last year, and then he retired in January, and so he was out. So that's a big void they have to find an answer to at that center position in this offense.
Well, the interesting component to Chad Morris's offense is he has won, and he's won a lot of games without having the most physically dominant offensive front. He did it at SMU. Backside pressure, that'll be a point as Randy Ramsey curled around the backside.
You really remembered that would be a point? That's impressive.
It's a point or two,
yeah.
Right?
Well, you can't say it's a point or two. It's one or the other.
I give myself some flexibility, as Joe Craddock does on his play calls, my friend. 10-9. Second sack for the defense today for those keeping track.
The body types of the offensive linemen and the complete change of culture up front, I think, is the biggest adjustment that has to be made on this team offensively. Because remember what Brett Bielema wanted to do. He wanted to play in a phone booth and just pound people, and these guys were massive maulers. And now it's these guys have to be on the move more. They're going to be asked to get out on the perimeter more. So when they were introduced to Coach Truman Carroll, the strength and conditioning coach, he absolutely started to get weight off of this group up front.
Chad Morris, of course, starting his college coaching career at Tulsa. He's a play caller for Todd Graham for a year. That team went into South Bend, Indiana, upset Notre Dame. Then went to Clemson as an offensive play caller. Kelly was the person responsible for signing Deshaun Watson. He was the first coach to extend an offer to what ended up being one of the top quarterbacks in the country for 3 seasons. And as a play caller, Clemson won some ACC championships, then went to SMU, which you saw there, looking at the offensive line metrics, and now here at Arkansas. But
you know, and making his name as a play caller, and at the same time he was kind of putting the pieces in place to build his own program. Learned that from Dabo Swinney along the way, certainly in his 4 years there. But it's interesting, after year 1 at SMU, Chad Morris no longer calls the plays. Joe Craddock does.
Here's the resume, and of course a long stint in Texas, as Kelly referenced earlier, winning some state championships in the high school ranks. You talk with him today, and he mentioned this in his opening press conference as well back in December. He still views himself as a high school head football coach. He wants to wash the jerseys and paint the lines on the field and do all those things, and he understands it. And so he has opened his program up to all the high school coaches in this state. And he made it a point to tell us yesterday more than 900 high school coaches from the natural state have visited Arkansas spring practice already. 900. And they get a chance to review film. They get a chance to ask questions of himself, of his offensive and defensive play callers. So building those relationships at that level, critical in his mind to get Arkansas back to where it needs to be long term. That'll move the chains, and Coach Morris in that opening press conference mentioned that fact specifically, just how important it is to have those relationships in place.
I'm a high school football coach, and I'm extremely, extremely proud to say that. And if you've never been a part of a fraternity of high school coaches, you won't understand what I'm about to say. But when you're a high school coach and you're able to walk in and you know what you have to do, you have to wash the clothes, you got to line the field, you got to meet with boosters, you got to meet with the English teachers, you got to be in the lunchroom on lunch duty. You get it. And when I'm able to walk into a high school room and a high school coach's office and sit down and relate immediately to what their day-to-day life is.
Quick grab by Warren for a gain of 23. Another catch as well for a short pickup to make it second down.
Yeah, that's really good stuff out of Chad Morris. And obviously the lifeblood of his new job is identifying with those guys from which he came from. He needs to be able to walk in and talk to those guys and identify with them. And he wants to maintain that relationship. And I think that's one of the key components in making things go here at the University of Arkansas is, can Chad Morris continue to be tapped into his high school roots, particularly in the state of Texas, not just other places, state of Arkansas, but can he really get into the state of Texas and get 5 stars, 4 stars, guys that are the building blocks of a program, not just a winning team, but a program that wins over years. That to me is the key. Brett Bielema couldn't really get that done at the end of the day to get those recruits, that pipeline. Well, Chad Morris, if he can't get that done in the state of Texas, who can?
His ties located in West Texas, and they have already made that a priority. Fourth down play coming up after a couple of runs by T.J. Hammonds. Good start for Ty Story, 6 of 10 through the air, thrown for over 100 yards and a touchdown. And the offense perfect on fourth down today. A rare carry for the fullback, Kendrick Jackson. I'm not really convinced the fullback still exists in a Chad Morris offense, but for big Kendrick, he'll take it.
They don't call them fullbacks, I guarantee, in this offense. They're like oversized, short yardage running backs, and I think they came up short right there, and Kendrick Jackson kind of slipped to the ground to some extent. But that's one of those positions that you talked about. You know, that was front and center with what Brett Bielema did here. You know, he had a lead blocker that was essentially an undersized guard that paved the way for a pretty big running back in this conference, and that's a position that kind of goes away. So in this transition, where do players like that go? Where does a Kendrick Jackson get some opportunity? He'll be a senior, one more year on scholarship, and I think a key in the coaching transition from one group to another, one completely different way of playing than another, you have to find ways to incorporate guys that have already invested in this program, and Kendrick Jackson is one of those guys that you have to find a role for him.
So off the exchange, offense takes over. Story remains on the field. Malik Williams will dance outside and pick up about 9, maybe 10. And Chris Doering has more. Chris?
No, I think it's always interesting when the new coaching staff comes in. You look at the roster and you're like, who are some of the guys that maybe haven't stepped up in the past or haven't heard the right voice or haven't been put in the right position to be successful? I played with a guy at Florida, 2-time SEC Player of the Year, and Shane Matthews. He was 5th on the depth chart when Steve Spurrier took over in 1990. Obviously worked his way up. So some guys on this roster right now we haven't heard from in the past at Arkansas are going to be able to make some plays under Chad Morris and his new staff schemes.
And Chris, one of the other areas that I think that pays dividends is you get the fresh start guys that have been kind of put on a shelf by the previous coaching staff, but also when a coaching staff comes in and gives the blue bloods, kind of the old school guys, an opportunity to kind of reinvent themselves and find a place in the new program, that pays dividends in the locker room. And you need to, and you know this as a former player, you have to win the locker room as a new staff. And those things are how that's done. You give those guys that you bled with and cried with and sweated with, you give them opportunities in this new scheme, and I like to see those things as well.
Now, you're exactly right. I mean, you guys have been around there. You were at practice on Thursday. I'm down here with these folks. I talked to them before the game. A lot of excitement everywhere. I think there's just a lot of excitement about next season, the opportunity, the new offensive scheme, playing for Coach Chavis. A lot of positivity right now for this program.
And we saw that on the practice fields as a light snow begins to fall, mixed in with some sleet here in Little Rock. You may be wondering, too, why are they playing this game in Little Rock? Well, Razorback Stadium undergoing a renovation of more than $160 million. They're expecting to complete that before the start of the 2018 season. They also usually play at least one regular season game or one game here at War Memorial Stadium per season. That's been the tradition. There's been a lot of big-time football played in this city, in this venue. But that renovation of Razorback Stadium, they're going to enclose it for the first time. Capacity is going to reach about 76,000. Kelly, luxury suites, the premium luxury suites, I might add, are being constructed, and a lot of excitement surrounding that project as we'll get ready for Eastern Illinois on September 1. Johnson, call for that fair catch around his 30 as we step aside. Defense out in front of the offense. The debut of Chad Morris by 3.
Get the live TV you love. No bulky hardware, no satellite, no annual contract. Try DirecTV now for $10 a month for 3 months. More for your thing. That's our thing.
And we mentioned the new Razorback Stadium. Renovation set to be completed before September 1st for the season opener, including the closement of the end zone for the first time in stadium history. You've got the luxury suites being built, a touchdown level club where players will enter the stadium just like AT&T Stadium over in Arlington, Texas. Also the new suites, all the amenities, and a capacity now 76,000 as we mentioned. Locker rooms are going to be fantastic, and that sequence there taken on Thursday. So moving along quite nicely, but certainly a sense of urgency still needed to make sure that it's done in time and by all accounts on time and on budget, which is always critical.
And that's one of the things that Chad Morris pointed out. He compared it to Clemson, and that might be a reach considering what's going on in Clemson currently, but it's the facilities. You know, these facilities are beginning to stack up with many places in all the country.
Devon Whaley off the left side picks up 13. He's looked impressive in these first 2 quarters.
Yeah, and the zone run inside kind of sets the table. You're pulling a guard to get out in front of him, and that's a staple for this offense. We talked about it. This offense works from the inside out run first, and that's a good example of the inside run.
Whaley already with 59 yards on the ground. And you see the end of his last season. Arkansas had some close wins, some tough losses. at the end of last year, but the bottom line, the Hogs were close in a lot of games, just 4-8 last season in Brett Bielema's final campaign as Kelly shovels that one out of bounds.
And a decent decision, actually, with Kelly. You get outside the pocket, throw the ball away, don't take the sack. That was a zone read to one side with Kelly having a run-pass option to the opposite direction. And that's the type of play that I question Cole Kelly's feet is, can his feet catch up with his decision making? He's a big man, and that time he was a little late getting to the edge to make those decisions.
A lot of people close to the program, fans of the Hogs this year, wondering who the starting quarterback will be in 147 days. And a lot of people would tell you there's two talented signal callers that have already signed but are not yet on campus, as Michael Woods makes a diving grab around the 40. It's a gain of 15, but John Stephen Jones, grandson of the great Jerry Jones, and Connor Nolan, another talented signal caller from Greenwood, Arkansas, expected to be in close competition with this current crop on campus. The pass sails wide.
Got to make those
receiver, right?
And consider the ball handling that just took place. If we have an angle of that, we can show a replay of it. But it's a zone read inside. You have to pull it, and then Cole Kelly has to get his feet right and hit an open receiver. It doesn't get more open than that in college football. You have to drop that in the pocket and let your receiver walk into the end zone. Those are the type of throws that are directly tied to Cole Kelly's feet, and his feet weren't right on that play.
Michael Woods, though, you're talking about missing the throw. Michael Woods is a freshman early enrollee, has already made a couple big plays today. He's been really consistent throughout the spring so far. This guy should be getting ready to go to high school prom. He's out here balling in the spring game.
No kidding, and he's probably, Chris, the MVP of that receiving group in the spring. It isn't like he's just flashed once or twice. He's been getting it done at a high level from the get-go.
Originally committed to SMU, followed the staff here to Arkansas, and paying dividends in this red-white spring game already.
And Chris, what are you seeing out of the receivers? Because I know that quarterbacks are hesitant right now, but some of that hesitation is I don't see a ton of separation down the field in a lot of things.
Yeah, there's not a ton of separation right now. We haven't seen a whole lot of route running. You know, I think maybe some of the most successful throws so far today have been the deep balls. A lot of deep ones, as we see right here. Great job of holding on to that one. Takes a big hit from the safety coming over, able to get his feet down and secure the catch. But the thing that I've seen is a lot of go routes. It's been difficult, too, with the wind and the way that's disrupted the ability for these quarterbacks to throw accurately. But right now, there has not been a lot of room for which Kelly and Story have been able to try to fit it in there to these receivers.
And that was Michael Petway, who has had a really good spring, and he's one of those fresh start guys. Hasn't done a whole lot, and he's getting a whole lot done this spring. But the deep throwing is one of the things that Chad Morris will talk to you about. He's, you know, it's a run first, two back thing, and you spread it out, and a lot of motion and movement before the snap. But they want to take their shots, and the shots come in the form of you create a mismatch outside, or at least a matchup that you hope you have an advantage. And a lot of times it's press coverage on a quick receiver. You have to win that, and that constitutes a deep throw down the field, and quarterbacks have to get better at doing those things.
The receivers called themselves the Bomb Squad this week in an effort to try to get more Razorback fans here. The passing attack down the field and a pitch and catch. O'Grady with a touchdown reception, his second of the afternoon.
That was some good stuff by Cole Kelly, and then O'Grady as well. The fake pitch moves a defender from underneath the coverage and moves him out a little bit and creates a window there. And then the timing of the throw, there wasn't a huge time to get that throw in there, but Cole Kelly does it. That's the timing that you hope, at least the coaching staff hopes is coming with Cole Kelly. And they said that his practices as of late have looked a whole lot better, and the timing and rhythm of this offense has looked better because of it.
71 yards in just 9 plays. And the offense back out in front. Don't forget, Sunday night here on the SEC Network, we'll bring you our newest show, which recaps all the weekend's baseball and softball games. Rally Cap premieres this week, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Also available on the ESPN app. Dory Noka very excited about that with David DeLucci. And it's going to be a lot of fun coming up this weekend. Well, a good start for Kelly, and also Michael Petway, who's brought in 6 passes for almost 100 yards. And the big tight end, Cheyenne O'Grady, has caught 2 scoring strikes. As you see, O'Grady, number 85, and White, a junior from Fayetteville, Arkansas. They want a little bit more from him, but I do like this. Chad Morris and Joe Craddock compared him to Dwayne Allen, the former All-ACC tight end at Clemson.
Yeah.
Kelly now with the New England Patriots. And anytime you draw those kinds of comparisons, you're doing something right.
Yeah, Kelly, or Allen, a Mackey Award winner, and that's a guy who flourished a tight end type body, flourished in essentially this same scheme. So obviously that position is an important one.
Here's Story rolling right, lofts it deep, and it will be incomplete. Trying to spot Tyson Morris, who's already caught 2 passes today.
And that's where I think Ty Story is going to thrive, when he gets outside the pocket, can use the movement just a little bit. And McClure was a former wide receiver on that play. He does a good job of breaking on that ball. Maybe just a skosh late, but a better defensive play.
He's been the nickel back for Chief Chavis often during this spring. Our SEC officiating crew getting a workout. There's Ken Williamson. Hey, these guys are trying to get into midseason form in April, too. We get it.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
And we talked about Devon McClure. He's one of those guys that Chris referenced earlier, you know, getting a fresh start. He's been all over the place. He's a walk-on. He was at wide receiver, but he's a guy that actually can be what they call a nickel Sam. So he's an outside linebacker type, but he's in the nickel. So he's going to have to defend a lot of times slot type receivers, and we saw it on that play. That route came from within the slot, and McClure breaks on it and makes a really nice finish.
Morris for a gain of 15. That was the 3rd penalty on the defense today. And here comes the tempo with time winding down in our first half. Ramsey, backside pressure. Randy Ramsey, his 2nd sack. Do you count those as sacks when you don't have to bring them down? You just play two-hand touch?
In this game, yes. Okay. In this game, you do. But Randy Ramsey is another one of those guys. Edge rusher. He was an outside linebacker in the 4-3 and now, or 3-4. Now he's going to be one of those guys that gets his hand back in the dirt and just get after the quarterback. And John Chavis has been big on Randy Ramsey as a position change guy, and now we know that John Chavis loves the guys that can dip and rip off the edge and get to the quarterback, and he talks about the need to affect the quarterback position. Randy Ramsey is one of those guys come the fall that may be doing that for the Razorbacks.
Chris has more. Chris, what do you got?
Yeah, you know, you talk about moving back to the 4-3, and one of the things that John Chavis really needs to have in order to be successful in his defensive plan are rush ends, and you've been talking about Randy Ramsey, but how about Gabe Richardson? This is a guy that only had 6 snaps last year. Now all of a sudden has become a viable end opposite of Randy Ramsey, and that's allowed Sosa Hakeem now to move inside and play tackle. So John Chavis's plan is to get his best 11 guys on the field, and because of the emergence of Gabe Richardson now, that gives them a little bit more depth, a little bit more danger up front on that defensive line.
Depth is the key word there in talking with Chief Chavis. He likes his first 11. Past that, they're trying to find which guys fit in what spots. And in this new world order of college football, where you have spread offenses and they're running 85 plays per game, if you don't have depth, you're going to be exposed later in the game in the 3rd and 4th quarters. And I think that's what he's trying to figure out now and as we get into the summertime towards preseason camp.
Yeah, and Chris made a great point, because some of the depth comes from guys like Sosa Hakeem being able to play 2 positions. He becomes kind of a swing guy on the defensive line of scrimmage. They start with him inside, but he can also play defensive end. And if you have a guy like Gabe Richardson flashing a little bit in the spring that can play defensive end, then a game can jump down inside. And what he gives you inside is more of an inside pass rush that obviously any defensive coordinator wants. So you get some of those guys that are starting to kind of show themselves as maybe little versatile, flexible, and Hakeem is one of those guys that can do that.
All right, so time winding down here in our 2nd quarter. Story remains in at quarterback as Malik Williams goes straight ahead. From what we've seen thus far, an assessment maybe with Story and Kelly, and on the offensive side, and what we've been able to ascertain just through 24 minutes of action.
I think Cole Kelly has showed himself well. I think the things that he's doing now, he's 10 out of 19, and he's thrown some balls that have been dropped, but I think he's making quicker decisions. he seems to be in the rhythm of this offense a little bit more as we see the ball get knocked away right there. And Jamari Bell is actually the number 86, the defensive end that knocks that ball away. He's another potential fresh start type of guy who's been kind of set aside, and Bell knocks the ball away from Ty Story there. But we were assessing the quarterbacks, and I think Cole Kelly has showed up well here today.
It was Michael Taylor rumbling down the near sideline after Bell snuck in there, and big number 91 got his mitts on it.
And Bell has been a guy who has tremendous talent. He was a recruit that was really well hyped, and he's broke a foot early in his career. He's been defensive end, he's been to tight end, he's been to linebacker, and now he's back to defensive end and could potentially be one of those guys that Chris referred to that could come hard off the edge for John Chavis.
Well, a fast-moving first half has reached a conclusion, and Chris Doering has Chad Morris once again.
Coach, big defensive play. I've talked to you a lot about the offense today, but what have you liked about the defense today?
Well, you know, I mean, everybody's flying around the football right now. Obviously, coming out here today and you know, seeing if we can develop some depth. That was our big key to coming out of this thing. Can we create depth? See what some of these 2s and 3s that have given us good reps during the spring, see what they can do, and just challenge each other. A lot of good on good going on out here today.
You know, I've heard you say go, go, go about 1,000 times. How have you liked the tempo and the pace so far?
You know, I think we can play faster. Again, great simulation. Coaches are off the field. It's a great opportunity to see what these guys like, what things we got to work on going into the summer. But again, you know, we got to play faster. It has to be faster.
Coach, I'd be remiss not to mention the J's on your feet right there. I didn't know the shoe game was so strong.
Yeah, I got it working. My equipment guys took care of me today now. So it's all good. We're excited about this thing and get out here the second half and finish this thing up.
Thanks, Coach. Go get warm.
You bet. Thank you.
Good stuff, Chris. Thank you very much. A couple of touchdown grabs by Cheyenne O'Grady and some good to decipher, and we'll attempt to do so coming up in our final 2 quarters. Back with our halftime report here in Little Rock, Arkansas, right after this short break. Here at Little Rock, Arkansas, the Arkansas spring game, beginning of our second half with Kelly Stauffer, Roy Philpott, Chris Doering. Great to have you with us. It will be a running clock in our second half, and keep in mind scoring could be at a premium considering Chad Morris has yanked a field goal off the board already, and there was a controversial play at the end of the second quarter involving Michael Taylor returning a fumble.
Is there anything on the line here between offense and defense?
There's got to be a steak dinner or something.
Steak dinner, or you get like ramen noodles or something.
Ramen noodles.
Yeah, the loser can't eat the steak as well.
We've gone from Renaissance Man to ramen noodles in this broadcast.
And what was our other one? We had another one in there. Run, pass. What do we?
R2PO.
Yeah, R2PO.
Yeah.
That's going to stick. I'm telling you that right now. I'm going to use it. If no one else uses it, I'm using that.
Scoring looks like this. Touchdown, the normal 6 points. A 3-and-out's going to net you 2 for the defense. No block kicks today. I'll venture out on that limb. And a tackle for loss is a point.
The people at home just completely gloss over when we put that up there. That's what happens. It's 20-17, and no one knows how we got there.
Well, Cheyenne O'Grady's caught a couple of touchdowns. We do know that, and Story has thrown one. Kelly has thrown another. A new quarterback to start our third quarter, Dalton Hyatt. And Kelly, really interesting to see number 11. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot because we watched him this week, and arguably he had the best throwing motion, delivery, and kind of overall feel of any of the quarterbacks that we saw. Now, we may not see that now, but on the practice fields, it was there.
Yes, exactly. I think all of the things that you said I agree with. And the question is, how quickly can he pick up the scheme, and how important is the game to him? And I think those are the questions that kind of linger out there. But I like his skill set a lot.
So Hyatt in for his second snap around the left side, flashing a little speed on the edge. And he'll be whistled down around the 35.
You know, there's the zone read where, once again, the triple option, the modern day smash mouth option, whatever you want to call it, is zone run inside. The defender steps inside, the quarterback pulls it and has the speed to get to the edge.
A lot of fans watching want to know about our expectations for this program going into the fall. And I do think it's curious in the rough and rugged SEC West. Wins are going to be hard to come by for any team.
Indeed.
And for Arkansas, there's talent, there's starters returning, 9 on offense, 7 on defense. And there's a potential to move up the ladder, so to speak, but the FBI projected wins right now around 6. I would argue this, 6 victories in the regular season and a bowl appearance, a major step forward in the right direction. Agree?
Yeah, I agree. If they can get bowl eligible, that is a huge win. There's some great hitting going on out there right now.
That was Taylor.
I think in that graphic we just saw, I think it's Alabama, Auburn, and everybody else. I think everybody else is kind of all in the same boat. The Mississippi schools, Mississippi and State and Ole Miss, you know, coaching changes and/or some type of tumultuous situation going on, and so I think there are wins there to be had. LSU has a different approach on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to be looking for a quarterback, and when we get to look at Arkansas's schedule, I think there are 6 wins in there. They're going to be tough to come by, but they have to start the season 3-0, and then they have this stretch of home games. And yes, it's bookended by Alabama at one end and LSU at the other, but they're at home for 5 games plus an open date. They have to make hay during that period of time.
You just glossed over 3 programs, including a road trip to Fort Collins.
Yeah.
And kind of an unusually played game, an unusual timing for that contest in week number 2. Texas A&M, of course, that contest in Arlington.
The trip to see his bosom buddy Gus Malzahn there at Auburn is going to obviously have a tough one. That's going to be a good team once again, but so you're really looking for a must-win the 3 weeks to open the season, and then you got to steal 3 of them somewhere along the way.
It was Grayson Gunner across the middle, picked up 24.
What do you think of Dalton Hyatt getting it done here? I'm telling you.
I mean, he looks smooth this week, and so as soon as you made that point to me, I watched him more closely, and it was there. We're seeing it on display. You just never know. Malik Williams.
He first of all needs to get in the weight room. He's 6'4", and it says a $190, and I'm not buying any of that. That's $190 with a couple of pieces of lead in his pocket. So, I mean, he's kind of pencil thin. He's going to have a good summer in the weight room, but I don't exactly know how this is going to play out. But I'm telling you this, he has a smooth spin of the football and has some quick feet to get to the edges. If he can learn the offense and make some good decisions, you never know. He might be in the mix come fall.
And no slouch in terms of talent. Was a 4-star prospect coming out of high school. Will buy some time here and then be brought down well behind the line of scrimmage.
And even something like that, I know it's a simulated scrimmage and all those things, and we get points for God only knows what, but he should have thrown that ball away.
That was Damani Carter with the sack.
You're outside the pocket, your receivers aren't open, so in a scrimmage, you got to make a decision as if you were in a game. Throw that ball into the bleachers and line up and don't take a loss.
It's 3rd down and 18.
Speaking of strength and conditioning, Chris Doering has more. Chris?
Yeah, I got the man here, head strength and conditioning coordinator, True Carroll. True, you came in here. I know you've been impressed with the shape that the guys were in, but you're looking for them to do a little something different. You're with Coach at SMU. What have you tried to do to get these guys in the shape that they need to be to play at the tempo they need to play at?
Really, the biggest difference is just the tempo and what they play with. We try to really replicate that within the training that they do. Obviously, being a direct guy under Rob Glass, we're going to spend a ton of time in the rack. You know, we're going to spend a lot of time in the rack, but also focusing on guys' mobility as well as recovering them.
So these guys have probably never run as much as what they're being asked to run in this offense, what you guys have done here. I know Coach Morris likes to say, strain them to train them. Has that been the case with you in the weight room and out on the field?
Absolutely. We want to train these guys to strain to finish, and the more we can do that within the strength and conditioning program, the more that's going to happen out here on the football field.
How do you train them to be fast but yet have the endurance to go with as many plays or as required on an 8, 9, 10 play drive that plays at the pace you guys do?
You know, really, our job as strength and conditioning coaches is to get those guys ready for practice. Those skills are acquired throughout the practice, so we get them in practice shape, and the practice actually gets them into that game condition.
Coach, appreciate your time, man. Good luck this season.
I want that guy to be my strength and conditioning coach. That's what you have to sound like.
You want that guy's voice.
Yes, I do.
You want Coach True's voice.
That was fantastic. That was fantastic.
And really consider this, when you talk about the kind of the art of the transition going from one staff to another, as we're seeing right now, the guy that spends the most time with this roster quickly is that guy, Coach True. You have about 8 weeks where he's the one that's getting to know their names. He's the one that's out there working and sweating and getting a little insight into their work habits. He's that guy. So he's really that first line of communication between players and the new staff, and he's done a tremendous job. And trust me, there are a whole lot of fat guys out there running around that weigh less today than they did when he took over.
Why are you looking at me when you say fat guys? I'm tired of that. Honestly, I really am. That was a gain of 5 by Dalton Hyatt, first and
I
goal.
love fat guys. I love them. I mean, they protected me for a long while, but some of them can be just a skosh lighter than maybe they were otherwise.
There's Malik Williams, the battering ram, brought down
Can
at
we
the
get
2.
Chris to talk to Coach True again? I just want to hear his voice one more time. I mean, that was good. That's exactly what he sounded like every time I've heard him.
He did say and use the word several times, finish. And if you're on the practice fields during spring practice this year at Arkansas, that's the one word Chad Morris used perhaps more than any. He talks about pace and tempo. But to be able to finish, to play well when you're tired, as that touchdown will be on the board for Malik Williams, was one of the missing ingredients last year in some close losses.
Exactly.
And I think this staff and many of the fans have identified that. That's already been a focal point. So again, you talk about expectations. 16 starters returning overall for a team that lost some close games and was in it with a lot of different contests throughout the year. If you finish in a more productive way in 2018, perhaps the wins will follow.
And learning to finish is a decision, and it's based on effort. You're not born with the skill to finish. Trust me. And football games expose that skill.
Extra point is good by Connor Limpert. Our new score, 24-21. Offense back in front of the first score of the day for Malik Williams, the freshman from the Sunshine State.
So we swapped your car out for the all-new Chevy Traverse.
Yes.
Do you think it's going to surprise your daughter?
Absolutely.
Wait, is Mom here yet? Where's Mom? She's in this car. What the heck? Whoa. Yo, whose car is this?
This is the all-new Chevy Traverse.
This is beautiful.
It has Apple CarPlay compatibility. Do those apps look familiar? Oh. You want to hit this button? There's a hidden compartment.
Oh. Mom, when I'm older, can you buy me this car?
I want to buy me this car.
Here in Little Rock, as our third quarter rolls along, the annual Red-White Spring Game for the University of Arkansas. New quarterback is Austin Awney, a freshman from Argyle, Texas, but 24 years of age. He originally signed with TCU back in 2012, then played minor league baseball after signing for a big bonus, the New York Yankees organization, and now the fourth-team signal caller. Couple of plays, quick tosses, and a couple of strikes.
Yeah, and I think that maturity has showed up during spring because he knows how to work. He's obviously played this game before, just not for a long while, but he's been rusty, but he has talent. And that was another guy in practice where I really liked his arm.
I thought he looked smooth as well. It's interesting that Dalton Hyatt came in, orchestrated 75-yard scoring drive on 15 plays right out of the gate, and Awney completes 1 of 2 on his first couple of attempts.
So my scouting reports were fairly accurate. Is that what you're trying to say?
I thought you were all over it, and I don't like telling you that, but it feels like that you were. That last scoring drive looks like this. Dalton Hyatt, redshirt freshman out of Alabama, and looked pretty smooth.
Yeah, and what I like here is the decision making. He's making quick decisions. The decisions are within kind of the rhythm of the offense. And that escape right there, even though we're in a scrimmage situation, was real. He was able to get outside the pocket. He has some quickness. Makes a good decision. Gives it to Malik Williams on the quarterback zone read a couple of times. And I think Malik Williams is going to finish one off right here by a good read up inside. And you were talking about the ability for this program to finish when Malik Williams scored right there, and that was how to finish a drive.
And that'll be the end of our third quarter.
Speaking of finishing, we're finishing everything.
It's a running clock the rest of the way. 24-21 offense out in front.
Think about it. There must be a higher love down in the heart. wasted time. Look inside your heart, look inside.
Thanks, babe.
Introducing the first ever Hyundai Kona with Blue Link.
Very funny.
Life on Earth just got a little more intelligent.
I am the creamy new peanut butter cookie dough blizzard only at DQ. And I am the classic chocolate chip cookie dough blizzard also only at DQ. Will you pick me or me? Decisions. Because I'm not fast food. I am fan food.
Football headed your way Friday night here on the SEC Network when the Kentucky spring football game gets underway with the annual Blue-White contest from Kroger Field in Lexington. Head coach Mark Stoops and the Cats will cap off spring under the lights, 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central. Also streaming live on the ESPN app. Chris Doering on the sidelines with Jared Cornelius. Chris.
I got a soft spot in my heart for this guy. I had the Achilles injury during my playing career. It took me forever to come back. You've been out here already running around the entire spring. How's the recovery so far?
It's coming. You know, it's slow motion, but it's coming along. You know, I'm excited where I am today. You know, I feel like I could have went today, but of course, we're just being safe with it, but I feel good.
You're a guy that could have moved on after last season. You decided to come back. Why'd you make that decision?
I mean, I was excited to see what Coach Morris had in store for this program. You know, you hear nothing but good things about all the things he's done for guys in the past, on and off the field. So, you know, I wanted to be a part of that.
Where do you project yourself playing in this offense?
All over, you know. I think I'm going to start off in a slot position, but I want to be able to play all three positions in the receiver, in the receiver room. So,
Petway, Woods, those guys have made some big plays today. What is that wide receiver core going to be like when we get to the fall?
It's going to be explosive. You know, you saw it a little bit today. We got some young guys with speed and a lot of talent in the room. We just got to shape it up, but I think it's going to be a great year.
Jared, thanks for your time, man. Best of luck this year. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Chris, thank you. The plot thickening here in our fourth quarter in a field goal contest. Kelly Stauffer, Roy Philpott in the booth. And the new quarterback is Jack Lindsey, the sophomore from Fayetteville and grandson of the former Arkansas captain from the '64 national championship team. Jim Lindsey was his grandfather. And a punishing run again for Malik Williams. Williams impressed you in practice, did he not?
He just has a knack for finding the softness. And we talked about him being a violent runner and a Marshawn Lynch-ish type of guy, and even the long flowing hair out the back of his helmet. But he absolutely maximizes what's there on a play, and I like his attitude a ton.
52 yards on 12 touches so far.
You know, Chris was just talking to Jared Cornelius. I wonder how much tape Cornelius has watched of Cortland Sutton and Trey Quinn, guys that were volume catchers in this offense at SMU for Joe Craddock and Chad Morris. I bet he knows their game quite well.
Well, it's interesting, too, as this pass is lobbed and caught. And out of bounds for Enlow for a nice pickup into plus territory. That's a gain of 32. Chris, what does Jared think?
So my guys up in the booth want to know how much film you've watched on SMU. I mean, Sutton, very productive career last year. Have you taken a look at those guys?
Oh, yeah. Cortland, Sutton, Trey Gwynn, you know, I've watched all their film from SMU and just seen what those guys have done and what they're capable of doing in an offense like this. You know, it does nothing but get you excited.
What excites you the most about what you've seen from them and maybe projecting how you stack up to what they do?
Just the amount of opportunities they have from game to game. You know, you're getting about 120 plays per game. So, you know, that's if you get the ball half the time, that's 60 plays. So, just the opportunity is outrageous right now. God, that was a big hit.
Guys, you don't have the camera down here. You should see the smile on his face, though. I know he's looking for a big year.
Hey, Chris, ask Jared this for me. Where in this offense, you know, it would have been great for him to get the reps in spring because it's such a rhythm offense. Obviously, he's learning something new. How well was he able to kind of simulate things and pick this up even though he wasn't able to play in the live events?
They want to know how well you were able to simulate, even though you haven't been able to play in this live event here. I mean, you've gone pretty much full the rest of the spring. How have you been able to get a feel for what they're asking you to do, the pace of this offense with which he wants you to play, the volume of plays with which you guys are being asked to run?
Yeah, well, so after practice, I usually try to get some type of conditioning in. You know, extra from what the team is doing on practice, just because I haven't been able to do everything with the team is, you know, running sessions and things like that. The live tackling stuff I haven't been able to do. So I'll always try to do extra, whether it's going through the plays in a 2-minute tempo by myself, in the indoor, anything like that, or running on the treadmill, anything, elliptical, just to get as much condition as I can.
Hey, we talked to Coach True earlier. What's that off-season conditioning program been like for you guys?
It's much different. It's fast, it's explosive, and they run us to death. But, it's all to get us in shape for the game.
Who's the guy that's maybe the worst shape that's had to come along this spring the most in order to get ready to play at this tempo?
Man, I would probably say myself, honestly. Just being, away from football for so long, we're looking at, 8 months since the last time I've played live football. So, I was a little out of shape, and it's been taking me a while. But, Coach Chu has done a great job. His staff is amazing, so I'm excited.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jared.
Jared just moving to the non-green jersey in practice this week, and so has not yet gone live as Lindsey is going to be sacked in the pocket, but certainly going to be a big addition. You also saw during that sequence Justin Stepp, the wide receivers coach here at Arkansas, and he helped tutor and train Cortland Sutton. He's had a lot of NFL scouts here by to see him the last couple of weeks. They've all asked him to, man, Sutton's been great in interviews. There's got to be something wrong with him. And Justin looks at each and every one. And he says, you know what? I named my son, my firstborn child, after Cortland Sutton, if that tells you how I feel about our star receiver at SMU. And he's probably going to be a first-round draft pick in about 30 days as well.
Yeah, he has that alpha look to him. A 6'4" guy that you can set out to one side at the next level and say, go beat their guy, and get paid a lot of money for doing it.
Field goal's good from 32 yards out. Push the margin to 27-22 for Lopez. 7:51 remaining. They are stopping the clock now, we're told, in our fourth quarter. And more action headed your way next. Well, nobody covers the SEC like we do. Tonight at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 Central. The SEC Now team will be back to break down all the baseball and softball games on the schedule this weekend. And, of course, you can watch on the ESPN app as well. Back at the Rock with Kelly Stauffer, Roy Philpott, Chris Doring. It's turned out to be a chilly red-white spring game for the Hogs. The debut of Chad Morris. New quarterback is Carson Proctor. And a quick toss will be made on the far side ahead of the 35-yard line. That'll move the sticks, I believe. Yes, it will. Proctor, the sophomore out of Vero Beach, Florida, is the 5th signal caller we've seen. We mentioned it earlier in terms of recruiting. John Stephen Jones, Connor Nolan expected to arrive on campus in just a couple of months. Two very talented quarterbacks, Kelly, and it'll be interesting to see how they enter the mix for this quarterback competition this summer.
Yeah, that is certainly one of the positions that people want to know about. And the thing about Chad Morris, when you hire him, you get this offense, which we've talked incessantly about, rightly so. And I think you also get a very energetic recruiter. And that's the lifeblood of this game. And so how well he can tap into his Texas high school roots and then expand that into the state of Arkansas and the surrounding states. I mean, this state of Arkansas has a lot of good football just on its borders. And so you have to recruit that well. And the coaches right now are in the process of evaluating this roster and saying, okay, what do we need? What do we have based on the skill set of these players? And what do we need? I thought Chad Moore said an interesting thing earlier in the week. He said, you're actually kind of thinking about two teams all the time. You're thinking about your guys on the ground and then the guys that you have to add through recruiting to add to the team on the ground. And so that process is well underway, and I don't know why it can't be done at a high level in this place.
The one word he used in talking about what he's looking for in terms of recruiting, as that pass will be caught off the deflection, Proctor, the quarterback, the word was speed. We got to be faster. We got to have more speed on both sides of the ball. That's what he's looking for right now to run this offense.
He says if you don't have speed, you're chasing it.
Right.
I mean, that says it all in this game, and that's true. You have to have speed on the back end defensively, and then you have to have speed in bunches on the offensive side because you're deploying sometimes 5 fast receivers in this game.
We will touch base with Chad before we step aside and end this broadcast. Reminder, it is a 2-hour broadcast. The Auburn spring game coming up in about 11 minutes from now down on the Plains. 27-23, 5:24 remaining here in our fourth quarter.
One moment can change a life. Intelligent technology can help protect it. The 2018 Audi Q5 is here.
Well, 9 minutes from now, join us at 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 Central, right here. The Auburn Spring football game live from Jordan-Hare Stadium. Our good friend Clay Matvick, Jordan Rogers, Laura Rutledge will be there to bring you all the action. The Gus Malzahn Fun Bunch down there in the Tigers on the Plains, also streaming live on the ESPN app. You know Clay Matvick's chomping at the bit to get that spring game underway.
Oh, no question about it. He's ready to roll. You want me to do my best Clay Matvick right now? I won't do that.
Actually, I really do. I really do.
Won't happen.
Well, we've had a good time today, and certainly reason for optimism watching Arkansas's newly revamped offensive approach under Chad Morris. And going to hear from Coach Morris before we turn it over to Clay and company down on the Plains. 27-25 the score, and a running clock again here in our fourth quarter.
Yeah, and Chad Morris is #1 reason to be optimistic going into next season as a recruiter and as this offense. And then he hired a really good staff, I think. Offensively brought him with him, and then John Chavis and the things that I think they have to teach each other. I think the youth of this program, you know, there are a lot of starters coming back that have played in this conference, which means something. And then the schedule we talked about. I think it's a favorable schedule, as favorable as it can get being in this conference, by the way. But you start with 3 wins, hopefully, and then you find a way to make hay as time goes on. And I think those things are all attainable for this program in year 1 under Chad Morris.
I love how you just gloss over those first 3 games. A road trip to Fort Collins. You start 3-0, people around these parts are going to be stoked. And certainly they're going to be favored, but we'll see if it actually happens, and if so.
And going on the road to Fort Collins in their new stadium and all those things, and I think they'll have a decent team, but that's a game that this team, this roster needs to win.
Yeah.
And actually should win, quite frankly.
27-25 as time winds down. 147 days away from the season opener back in Fayetteville. Hogs will welcome in Eastern Illinois to town on September 1st, the newly renovated Razorback Stadium. And it can't get here soon enough. I know you and I have really appreciated some off-season football to talk about. It's been a fun week getting ready and fun getting to know these coaches and players a little bit more.
Yeah, learning how passionate the Arkansas fans are about this team and about this new direction. They're certainly excited.
Chris Doering now with Chad Morris to wrap things up. Chris.
Coach, winding things down today. What has you optimistic the fall from what you've seen today?
Well, just a lot of energy out here. These guys are getting better. We'll continue to push forward through summer and getting our third quarter phase. So, I'm just excited about these guys. I mean, obviously coming in, changing the entire system has been a challenge for these guys, but they picked it up really well. So we'll keep moving, keep moving forward.
You've related it to drinking from a fire hose today. In order to play fast, you got to know what you're doing. How far along do you think these guys are in getting them to where you need to be?
Well, every day's a journey. Every day's a progress. Just taking one step forward, getting 1% better every day. So, we'll keep putting it on them. And but again, I'm pleased with the way these guys performed today. And just we're a long way to go, but we're getting there.
You actually got 2 more days of practice before spring wraps up. What do you do to go back and look at what you did and maybe correct things and set things forward going into the summer?
Yeah, we'll obviously just kind of go back over this film today, do corrections on Monday. It'll be kind of our last full kind of a contact day, and then Wednesday's our last practice where we'll get ready for summer.
All right, Coach. Looking forward to your tenure here at Arkansas, and good luck the rest of the way.
Absolutely. Thank you. Go Hogs.
He's learned from some of the best, including Auburn head man Gus Malzahn, Dabo Swinney at Clemson, Todd Graham, an offensive-minded team that they had at Tulsa. They secured that road win at Notre Dame back in 2010, not to mention all the high school ties that, Kelly, we've documented throughout the last 2 hours. So he has a lot to pull from with all of those different experiences, and certainly he's going to do a lot of that over the course of the summer as the Hogs get ready for their first year under his watch.
Yeah, and I'll put it this way. A friend of ours in Northeast Arkansas, her name is Keely. I asked her a question, and the answer was yes, but she answered this way. Is a fat dog heavy? And I'm like, I think that means yes. Well, can it be done here in Arkansas? And why not Arkansas? And the answer is yes. I think Chad Morris possesses everything that kids want right now. He's a great recruiter. I think he's a really good man, and he runs the type of offense that kids want to play in. So I think if they can make some hay on the defensive side offensively, they can get it going. I think this is going to be an interesting thing, and the already crowded SEC West, I think, just got more so.
The offense claims the victory 27-25 as the spring game reaches its uneventful conclusion. And you hit the nail on the head as well in talking about the health during this red-white contest. You want to make sure that your guys are as healthy as possible, and certainly Raleigh Williams injured last year in the pseudo-spring game inside. The fact that it looks like most everybody remained healthy today is important. We'll go back to the summer slim down. He wants this team to get faster.
Yeah.
He wants them to shed some more weight, and I think those will be the initial priorities for the team that he has coming back.
Yeah, and I think the slim down was huge because they're definitely going to play football a different way, especially on the offensive side. So guys had to lose some weight. I don't know that this team gets faster necessarily other than through recruiting. And they got a decent recruiting class in 2018. They're going to continue to hit it hard and address that, because I love that saying, if you don't have speed, you're chasing it. And in this conference, if you don't have speed, you're behind the eight ball. There isn't any question about it.
Walk me through the quarterback competition. Cole Kelly, Ty Story, we saw some good things from both signal callers today. You got Nolan coming on campus, Jones as well, two highly regarded signal callers. Your expectation in the shotgun this year for Chad Morris with his quarterback spot?
Did you like fat dog heavy? You
I
want
did.
me to say that again?
I did, yes.
You know, I think that Cole Kelly has come along, and I think that was so important for him today because he's been practicing well as of late. About mid-spring, he all of a sudden started to practice better than he was earlier. And as a quarterback, trust me, I've been there before. When you're learning things and your head's ready to explode, you can't do the most basic things sometimes. And all of a sudden with Cole Kelly, that 6'7", 260 pounds is starting to play better. Ty Story, I think, is a really good player that can be solid in that position. I asked Joe Craddock this yesterday. What are the percentages of your quarterback not being on campus yet? And there's certainly that possibility. But remember, playing in this conference, that's a tough hill to climb to come in as a true freshman.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch as the drama unfolds as we make our way towards preseason camp. Season opener headed your way in 147 days as Eastern Illinois comes to town back in Fayetteville. Well, coming up next, the Auburn spring game down on the Plains. Clay Matvick, Jordan Rogers, Laura Rutledge will have the call of that one as Gus Malzahn continues his assault on the SEC West. 27-25 our final score. For Kelly Stoffer, Chris Doring, I'm Roy Philpott saying so long from the Rock.